Welcome to Elements of Design. I'm the flower man, Wayne DeBey, and if you look around, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I know that's a groaner for you out there, but I just couldn't resist the urge to say it, so I went with it. Today we are working on the holiday season, the Christmas season, and I thought I would try to do three things that I think are kind of fun. The first thing is to work with some of this terrific material. This is a bush, a plant, and I chose this because it has great blossoms, a great gold. It also is a little more to the brick red side of color. I don't know if that comes through on the camera real well, but when I put it up against this particular container, the colors do very well, I think. So I wanted to start with this. And people, I see time and time again that people buy a bush and then just jam the whole bush in, and it's very hard to get a really nice look doing that. So you need to take the material and take it apart. The better materials, even in bush materials, have a lot of leaves and petals that are wired so that you have some control. And I'm coming in and I'm coming over the edge of it so that it's not straight up and down with the pot, but I'm wanting to come out, lean out over the edge and do that a little. If you have a real blunt end and you can't get it in, you might cut it on an angle. This one actually cut pretty nicely on an angle. And I want to raise that one up. That's where I'm going to use one of my wooden picks and grab that with a little bit of tape. Wire this on. The picks have a little bit of wire on them, and sometimes I think that's enough. With adding the floral tape, I think we can do this and get away with this really pretty readily. What that will allow me to do is to raise this a little bit higher than the rest of the plant, the bush, if you will. I debated about whether I wanted this to be all one height, and in the end my love of height, I guess, won out. I couldn't stand the thought of having it all on that same level. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start with the 5. This particular bush has 5 blossoms on it, and that's what you're buying when you buy bush material. You need to look at the actual count of the blossoms that you're buying and then determine whether it's a good buy or not. How well made it is, all those sorts of things should come into question when you are looking at them. I also have some of the pine, the permanent pine. This one is a pretty great stem. It's got a little extra color in the stem. Give that a little clip. Come in and we'll tuck it down and in. I do like, when I work with materials, I try to utilize all of a material as I work with it, which is a cost-effective thing to do. Rather than have half a stem of something laying around, it's better to go ahead and tuck it in and utilize it, because if you're like me, chances are you'll forget it before you get around to the next project. Now this would work okay as it is, and get a good head-on shot here. We've got a nice full look going. I think I'm going to take this other bush and we're going to make that even fuller. When people come into the store and look at poinsettias, what they're looking for is to have something that is a nice full look with a lot of blossoms on it. And the growers mainly anymore grow what is called a pinch plant, where they have pinched 1, 2, sometimes 3 plants and made them branch, and they have several showy bracts that way. The old, when I first got into the business, most of the poinsettias were what they called one-ups. One plant produced one big blossom, and they were beautiful specimen blossoms. But the trend over the last 2 decades has been to go to the pinched plants because they do give a really good mass of color. And that often is what's needed, is the mass of color over the single specimen. So that's really what I'm going for here, is a mass of color. This could be something that would go on, could go on a table, could go in a foyer, on a hearth. A lot of applications for this sort of thing, just to add a lot of bright color to the home for the holiday season. And I am trying to clip these where the leaves are on the lower portion of the stem. Doing that for a reason. I'm going to turn around and tuck those back in, and that way I will have a little more fullness in the container, in the foliage. Can come down inside and tuck them a little bit to the interior. This is very pretty with that golden edge, that gilded edge. And that makes a really nice full look. Another thing that I might do in store, and if someone were doing this at home, I might want to add a little bit of accent flower to it. And I brought tonight kind of a dull green, it's a baby's breath, a permanent baby's breath. And I thought it was fairly dull. And Christmas, I think, needs to have a little bit of brightness to it. This poinsettia, because it's got the glitter on the edge, I'm going to go ahead and step back a little. Try not to give everyone in the studio a sparkling personality. This is the spray glitter, which is great fun. And this time of year, we use quite a little of it. Had one of the people here, Kyle, was out here earlier asking what this was, and I told him if he came closer, I'd give him a sparkling personality. And he backed away. I don't understand. So that just picks up the light. Again, I don't know that the camera is going to pick that up well here, but in real life, when you walk up to it, it has that little bit of glitter on it and bounces the light around. Even when it's tucked down in, it'll catch the light. Just adds a little layer, another layer of fullness to it. And you can hear I've got that silk foam, the dried foam in here. It's very crunchy as I use it. And I am putting my stems in deep. That's just force of habit. When I build something, I need it to be able to be delivered and to be serviceable for a long time. If you're doing it at home, maybe you don't have to be quite that sturdy. In fact, you may not want to do it that far. You may want to pull it apart and utilize it somewhere else the next season. We like to call that repurposing, that use it somewhere else the next season. Got a couple of pieces. I'm going to split this last one so I can get a couple more. And see where I think it needs just a little bit of extra color. And there we have a nice full permanent poinsettia. What we've used here is we've had the container, we've had 2 bushes with 5 blossoms, and the 2 stems of the permanent evergreen, as well as the accent. So that is a fairly economical use of product. Other things that we find this time of year, this was a new one for me, and I really liked this. This is designed as actually a wall plaque. On the back is a hanger, and so you could hang it on the wall if you wanted. But I thought this is great because it also serves as a centerpiece, as a quick centerpiece. If you just want to have it on the table when you're not using it, this would be fun to lay down. If you have company and want to pick it up and hang it on the wall, you'd get that second purpose out of it that way. So just kind of a fun little thing that they have come out with. And here I've got extra leaves. We'll tuck those in a little bit later. I had a supplier come through today, and he had beautiful silver product, and I thought, isn't that great? Silver is so bright and pretty. And I thought I had to have a little bit of it, so I bought some. And I thought maybe we'll just make a little vignette here. We'll light the candle on the pine cone. Got this great glitter branch, and that comes off almost blue on the camera from what I can see. What it is like mirror facets on it. It's just got hundreds of little mirrors, and so it really throws that light around. And what I want to do is just make a simple table piece, and I want to take that and I'm going to tuck that down in there first. I've bent my stems around, and now I want to take one of these big ornaments, these candy peppermint stripe ornaments, see if I can put that in there that way. I didn't rehearse this at home, so it may not do quite what I want it to, but I will eventually bend this to my will. This is a great silver holly, and I thought it was a fun texture. Put a little bit of that in, and my friend Jim from Buffalo Imports, when he heard I was doing the program tonight, he said, well, you have to have some of this holly. And so that's where this came from, and I do like it. It is very pretty. Again, a very simple way to do this. This one I'm going to, because I see the height where I need it, and I do love height. I like things to have some height in them. That's one of the ongoing arguments in the store all the time is if things are tall enough or if they're too tall, where I need to go with it. Now, this is where this comes in. This is a little cellophane ribbon almost. It's actually a little bit of plastic with a wire on each side, and it's one of those binding agents that we've talked about many times. And I didn't want to use raffia or the bind wire because I don't have those textures in here. And I thought, what can I do? Well, this, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this and I thought, you know, I forget that I have this wonderful material. And so I'm just going to tie this here in this spot a moment. And because these are ornaments, there are wires, or not wires, but there are hangers on them. So if I want to keep this in place, I can go ahead and put it down there and tie that in as well. I'm going to come back and add a little bit more of this holly. You could do this with anything. Christmassy certainly would work, and it's a great way to do something that's a little holiday centerpiece. Probably not something you're going to want to move too many times, but you could certainly use it for the season, and then after the season you can take it apart and repurpose it the next season. The next thing I want to work with, I want to get my hands into some fresh greens, and we have beautiful fresh greens. It's the first of them that came in, and these are harvested, mostly this is all Pacific Northwest product, and I know I've talked about that before. They harvest this in August, September, fairly high elevations, and they have to get up there to cut it before the snow flies, and then they store it. And I have a number of varieties of it. This is one of my favorites. This is an incense cedar, and it has tiny little cones on it that will open and actually produce incense, a drift of little yellow incense. Some people don't like that. I try to spray mine well with a sealant so that it doesn't do that as readily. And I think it's a great texture. It's got the drape to it that so many of the other greens are very stiff. The greenery, generally, if you have them in water and in a relatively cool room, all of these greeneries should hold through the Christmas season. They should last 3 weeks or more. The cedars, surprisingly or not, are among the hardier of the greens, and they're ones that will last for 6 weeks to a month, maybe a little bit longer, again kept in water. If you're going to just place them out and let them be in the air, they will dry and they won't have that lasting, they won't last as long. What I have in here, this is a noble fir, this particular green, and very hardy. Another one of the firs, this one is called silver fir, and it's a little darker on the front, but it's really the back side that I use this for, because it's got this great silvery color on the back side, and it adds again another texture to a fresh arrangement or to anything. Could be as simple as a bowl of fresh greens on your table. And you are able to come in and just buy fresh greenery by the pound. Sometimes shops will have bundles. I'm trying to get the little consumer bundles in for this holiday season as well. Here's another one of the cedars, and this one is Port Orford. And it has a bunch of little bitty cones. I don't know if we can get in close enough to get that. We'll see if we can get these little bitty cones right up here. I don't know if that's going to come across, but it is a nice, again, a nice texture to have those little pine cones on there. Cedar is a little more pliable. If you want it to go another way, you can work with it and bend it to your will to a certain extent. And the last of the fresh greens that I brought tonight, get that tucked back in. I have some long-needled pine. This, I would guess, is probably a princess pine. It doesn't seem to be eastern white pine. Eastern white pine is very soft, and this is soft. It's not a real prickly texture, but it's not eastern white, so I think it's probably princess. The greenery came in a mixed box, and they don't label it, so it's a matter of the best guess identification. Now, if we had aroma television, at this point in time, you would really be getting that full aroma as I'm breaking and working with the pines. Anytime you cut it and bruise it at all, then that pine fragrance comes out. And again, you can direct this a little. You can also break it doing this. I've done that as well. I'm just going to tuck that down in. And this is great lasting greenery. I thought what we need to do is come in here and put some great lasting flowers with it. And I chose the carnation. Carnations are a good red. There aren't a whole lot of true reds on the market. Roses, carnations tend to be the most available of the true reds, and carnations have great vase life. These are fairly tight. They came in late last week, and I would not be surprised to have someone tell me this would have a 2 to 3 week life in their home, maybe a little bit longer. So you can send some fresh things out as seasonal gifts if you want, and you can do it. You don't always have to wait clear to the last of the holiday. In fact, I think probably a little earlier people would enjoy it and have a little more time over the season to enjoy it. I'm going to do just a half a dozen of these in this for starters. And color-wise, I've stayed predominantly with red and white. In Salina, I think that most of our homes are more geared to traditional colors. We have a few people that have different colors, the blues maybe, or the teals, the turquoises. Purple has been a new color I've seen a lot of on the market as well. I went ahead and put a 7th carnation in there. And now what I'd like to add, this is one of my favorite flowers. It's a garden flower, and for those gardeners out there, you'll look at this, you'll know this. This is phlox, and it has a wonderful sweet fragrance to it, and it also lasts very long. The individual blossoms will open and close. It's a little different from the carnation in that respect. But this, again, should last 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe longer, if you have it in a relatively cool room and take a little care, add the water, and do that sort of thing. And I'm using it with great abandonment tonight. Just tucking it in as I go. Generally, this comes in about 3 shades, white, a lavender, and kind of a pinky lavender are the 3 shades that I see it in most of the time, both in the yards around here and on the market. Like I said, it's one of my favorite flowers because it does hold well and it is fragrant. We're just going to put a whole bunch, 10 stems of phlox in here. Fill this up. And I'm stripping some of the bottom foliage. Anything that comes in the water really needs to be taken off. If it's not in the water and it looks good, then I think it's optional. If you like the looks of it, don't take the foliage off, just let it be. This got a little damage on some of those bigger leaves right below the blooms, and so I'm going to take it off. And there we've got a big, beautiful centerpiece. I chose a red vase, and there's a lot of different vases. It could be clear. We could put cellophane in the vase or around it if you wanted to have that red. There are a lot of red glass on the market this time of year. This one is actually a vase that has been coated, and that depends on your ultimate goal. The coating sometimes gets scratched and shows through, but it's also less expensive than true red glass. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. How long do you need it to last? If it's just something that you want to do for the season, then maybe this is a great way to take that. The other things that I brought tonight, I thought maybe I need to show how to make a bow, a big bow. People often come in this time of year and ask if we can make bows, and yes, we can. And what I'm going to show you is the big traditional bow. This would be something maybe that would go on a door, could be on the top of a tree, depending on how you make it. And I'm going to use the old yardstick here, get a feel for about how long it is. You know, the old end of your nose to the tip of your fingers is about a yard, and in my case it is. And so, did I bring scissors? That would be that would be an excellent choice. No, I didn't. Well, there maybe. Nope. I have messed with my toolbox, so don't do this at home. I'm going to cut this with my knife. And the way that I learned to make a bow is I face the material towards myself, and this material is definitely has a face. It's got the bright shiny trees and then a duller side, and I pinch it. Then I take and make my first loop. I turn my hand, I pull this up and over and bring it in and pinch it again. And then turn to face the ribbon up. You always want, with a single-sided ribbon, you always want it to have the pretty side to the out. So I bring it together, pinch, and then from there on it really is just a matter of layering back and forth. And the wired ribbon is great because even if you get it crushed, you can do a simple fluffing. And this is a bow that you could probably use several years. If you keep it out of direct weather, what it should hold and do. Like I said, I'm going to do a pretty large bow. This is something that might go on the house, could go at the treetop. And I need to get my ribbon up and straightened out just a little. And we'll finish this. I've got probably, I think, about 6 yards in this bow if you're interested in how much I put in here. And it's tickling my nose. Maybe the glitter, maybe I've got the sparkling personality coming out. And pull it tight and twist it. And then you can fluff your bow around. If you want to add longer tails, you can come back in and do that. But you've just made a professional bow. And I want to close today by telling you that it is a great time of year, and I hope that you all have a very Merry Christmas. I'm the Flower Man, Wayne DeBey, and I've enjoyed showing you these ideas.